Welcome to Cherry Knit's video tutorials geared all towards knitting colorwork mitts for the first time. This is the very first one that I ever knit up, and this is all the information that I wish that I knew before I started knitting up this mitt. This series is geared directly towards the market day mitts, so if you are here for that, this is for you, but also know that this can go towards any fingerless mitt. The very first video is going to be all about the materials that you'll need, the needles and the yarn type. But aside from that, each tutorial is filmed separately. So if you want to skip ahead, you already know some of the skills, that's incredible. And if not, then just keep on watching through the entire playlist. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. First, let's talk about needles. We have magic loop, DPNs, and my favorite, shorties. Now, if you have used any of these techniques and they work for you, stick with that technique. The number one tip that I have is whatever foundation skills you already have in your arsenal, use those to your advantage, because learning how to knit colorwork, it can be a bit challenging, it can be a bit frustrating, but if you already know how to knit in one of these techniques, it is way less frustrating. Now, if you haven't tried any of these, I really recommend shorties. This was my first pick because it seemed less intimidating, and that is because when you're using these, you can knit consistently in the round without switching needles, and that is so handy as a beginner. This is what I knit my very first mitt on. Now, the other reason why I really like these is because your tension also doesn't have to change. If you're constantly switching needles, you're going to have to change your tension for when you're switching those needles. And as a beginner, that was a bit too complicated for me, so I went with these. Next, let's talk about yarn. My number one recommendation is to use an untreated animal fiber. And these are in Drops Lima. It is a wool alpaca blend, untreated. Now, if you've used superwash before, you'll know it is way softer, but also it is super slippery. Really don't recommend that for a beginner. This, honestly, when I was working them on my shorties, I could throw that thing in the air, whip it around, my kids could be playing with it, and my stitches would not fall off the needle. So I really recommend using an untreated animal fiber compared to a superwash wool or an acrylic yarn, and definitely not a cotton. Please don't pick a cotton yarn. Now, I do have an example of a superwash wool that I used, and this is the second reason why I recommend using a non-treated yarn, is because you can really see the stitch definition here. Now, with other types of knitting, that is great, but with colorwork, you really want to showcase the image rather than the individual stitches and when you switch colors. So if you look at this, you will forever be able to see these individual stitches. That will not go away. I have one here that I have washed one time, and you can already see that it's a lot softer over time. Like this wing here is really going to smooth out with washing, and that is something that is a pro definitely for a untreated wool. This one I knit with 100% untreated wool, and that is usually what I go for. Also, just keep in mind that when you are picking out yarns for your hands are relatively durable compared to like your head or your neck, so you're not going to have to really worry about an itch factor as much compared to if you were like doing a colorwork hat, for example. But those are my recommendations for materials. Stick with me for the next video to cast on the project.